There's never been a better time to have Sirius XM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy favorite shows with Sirius XM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
From application-specific kits to line output converters, source unit to amplifier integration solutions, these are the brands that get you the signal to upgrade the sound. Welcome to CMA Live, presented by Series XM. The OEM Integration episode starts now. Good evening and welcome to another episode of CMA Live presented by Sirius XM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and on the menu this evening is such an important category because it is absolutely 150% relevant right now in your bays if you're doing any type of sound upgrade at all, and that is, of course, OEM integration. But what is OEM integration? Well, I think the term has probably evolved quite a bit in the last few years. You know, at first, the challenge was how to get the signal from a factory head unit. Then it became, well, there's systems with amplifiers. How can we bypass that and add better amplifiers to systems? Do we have to sum these signals to get a flat signal? And now there's other features such as CarPlay and Android Auto that people want to integrate into. And these are all trends that are happening right now. So we're pretty happy because we've got a stellar lineup this evening that pretty much covers all the bases as far as OEM solutions are concerned. It's going to give you a taste of all the different type of solutions that are out there, and we have the specialists to tell you all about them. All right, without further ado, let's get started and dig right in. We're going to start first with a big brand in integration because they've been doing it a heck of a long time. It's under the AMP Global family of products, and it's PAC Integration, and we have with us tonight their Director of Training, of course, the legendary Mr. Jeff Smith.
Hey, Ben. How you doing, man?
Legendary. That's my acronym. That's my adjective for you this evening. Kicking off the show. PAC, man. That's like seriously one of the bigger brands, you know, when it comes to OEM integration. Again, been doing it a long time, and the product offering and the solution suite has certainly evolved as vehicles have evolved. So why don't we start first with the exciting news, some really interesting applications that was just announced by PAC. Why don't you tell us all about them?
Well, that would be our integrated kits using our infotainment source unit, the Stinger High 10, into the Toyota Tacoma, your 16 to 21 Tacoma, being able to blend that 10-inch screen that's full of all the media options that are popular today, CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, all that directly into the dash and integrate those plastics in that infotainment unit into the Tacoma with a Radio Pro interface. Then from there, we graduated up to the brand new Tundra kit that allows complete integration for the Tundra steering controls, JBL integration, blends right into the dash beautifully, USB retention, all of those options. And then, of course, the ever popular, and this one's been like ringing off the hook, the Charger Challenger Chrysler 300 SRK CHR15. And that one differs from the two Toyotas because it's an SRK. This is one of the biggest things I want dealers to always remember, the difference between SR and SRK. SR is going to be a standard installation that cosmetically blends in and works with everything there. But when you get that K, that's when you get all the vehicle data piped into the screen. So Charger Challenger 300s are daily scenarios for customers to come into your store with.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that Tundra one. The reason why that one's so big is the range of years that kit covers. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, we're talking like 2014 and up almost, right?
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that dash platform stayed around for a while, so it's going to be a hot seller.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I can see, PAC's going to continue, developing these type of kits as the demand is there, and as they just become such an all-inclusive solution, that's totally plug and play, and everything's in the package. So, having said that, more recent, I'm not going to say new, but very recently announced, the new Lock Pro Advanced line of products certainly will help and assist technicians in adding amplifiers to factory systems. Tell us more about the Lock Pro Advanced line.
So the Lock Pro Advanced, like you said, is our latest offering in post amplifier line output converters. So this is going to be a device that can blend into a lot of different vehicle platforms, because depending upon the amount of voltage that the OEM system is putting out, we have those that specialize in the 20 volt and down area. Then we also have 40 volt and down if you have a more higher performance system. And the fact that all of these guys are in metal chassis to help dissipate the heat of the higher powered inputs. But most importantly, this is PAC's first entry into active line output converters. So these guys have to be powered up. And then we pair that with our Lock Pro harnesses now. That makes it even simpler for dealers or installers to add them into vehicles. 2-channel input, 4-channel output, 2-channel input, 2-channel output, or 4-channel in, 4-channel out. We offer 5 different models in that family with variable load resistors as well. So
I was just going to say, what's the best way to navigate through the best selection depending on the job for technicians?
Right. So having the variable load resistance in the all 5 different models means that you can work with vehicles that are amplified, vehicles that are non-amplified, vehicles that just need enough load in order to satisfy or appease the factory output channels in order to make it realize a factory speaker is still there. So we kind of offer a wide variety of options in order to make this available to many different vehicle platforms for installers.
All right. So, we're talking about those heightened centric kits, right? Application specific. We're talking about this new active Lock Pro Advanced line. But let's not forget about the ever popular Amp Pro line, which truly is kind of, I don't know if staple would be the right word, but there has been many an Amp Pro kit installed to date. And I want you to talk to, for those who may not know what the Amp Pro kit or what it does, I want to give you the opportunity to explain.
Yeah. So the Amp Pro is a T-harness style data module that's a preamp unit. So it goes in front of the amplifier in a factory premium amplified system. So it's going to take that fixed level signal that's coming from the OEM head unit that typically is data controlled inside the amplifier. We, being PAC, we are the integration experts according to data bus. And then we can look at the data bus in the vehicle and allow that Amp Pro to now turn that speaker level input from the factory head unit that's fixed level, not usable, into a 6-channel preamp out, RCA 4 volt or 5 volt, or even optional toslink output. So this system, get ready for the keyword, Ben, T harnesses into all of these vehicles. No cutting, no splicing, plug and play behind the dash. RCAs or optical cable back to your amplifier or DSP amplifier, and it makes upgrading a vehicle into premium sound above and beyond what the factory could ever do that much simpler and easier.
I cannot stress enough the significance and the game changedness, if that's a word, of a T harness situation. Many installers who are well versed in perhaps installing car starters or remote car starters might already know the benefits of such systems. But I've spoken with many installers that haven't actually tried a full T harness system yet. Let me tell you, we're talking about click, click, click. There's no splicing. You don't need to test anything. It's already being tested for you. And the best part is in some of these more higher end vehicles, there's no permanent irreversible modifications that you're doing. You could literally take that whole thing out, plug it back, and it's back to the way it was intended by the manufacturer.
Exactly. That was the total process of thought behind this, is how to make the installation that much more reliable and simpler for our dealers. 100%. Repeatable.
That's
and that technology trickled down into the Lock Pros as well. That's where the LPH harnesses came from the thought concept of Amp Pro.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're going to see a lot more T harness type situations as we move forward industry-wide. I think that's
100%.
definitely the future. All right. I would be remiss if we didn't mention, we're talking OEM integration. It's not always about audio. We think OEM integration, many of us think audio, but there's a lot of other elements we want to integrate into. One of those elements are factory cameras, and PAC does have a few great solutions for that as well.
Yeah, so the blending of the integration part again for safety, right? Then we're going to bring in, we talked about PAC and Stinger. Now we're going to talk about PAC and EchoMaster, right? So our safety brand. Now we have the ability to integrate into factory screens, adding a reverse cam or retaining a reverse camera and now adding a front camera. Or in some applications, we can actually add left and right blind spot cameras to a vehicle. We do this with factory head unit. We can create a new UI in some of the larger, more popular platforms. But we want to make sure that from an integration standpoint, we cover head unit integration, we cover audio integration, and we cover video integration. And that video integration is another key selling point that a lot of dealers, if they tie on to adding safety features with the PAC and EchoMaster combos that we have, it's going to be a whole new revenue channel that most dealers don't even think about unless they're selling an aftermarket head unit and they go, oh, let's add a backup camera. No, let's do a complete safety solution, front camera, rear camera, left and right blind spot. It's a total game changer.
Exactly. Very, very, very good. Jeff, I want to remind everybody, we did one last week. Go check it out on CMA Networks. Jeff literally goes in depth with full breakout of everything we talked about today, whether it be the application specific high 10 kits or the Lock Pro Advanced series or the Amp Pro, everything we talked about, go check it out. In the meantime, if you want information right now because you're impatient and you cannot wait, head over to the PAC website, pac-audio.com. You can verify that everything this man has said this evening is in fact accurate. And if you happen to be in Canada and you're looking for some PAC product, get a hold of either automob.ca or Gentech International at gentech-intl.com. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Ben, pleasure to be here, buddy.
See you on the next one.
See you.
All right. So obviously PAC, a big name in the OEM, integration solutions, accessory side of things. Our next brand is a very boutique, very niche brand, which does basically one thing and does it superbly well. And we're going to let him talk about all the great benefits and features that these guys have with their products. I'm talking about WaveTech. And if you haven't heard about WaveTech yet, well, pay attention because they make something super unique. And I believe they have quite a big announcement they want to make tonight. So let's go ahead and bring on their Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Jason Kemmerer.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Jay. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Rock and roll times at the WaveTech camp for sure. We're super happy you made the time to join us tonight. I'm just going to get out of the gate. We dropped it the other day on our show. I think most of the industry's already heard about it by now. WaveTech just dropped a brand new line of amplifiers. Yes, I said amplifiers into the mix, which basically blends your proven technology of LOC with some amplification in a very tight, compact package. I don't want to steal your thunder. Jay, tell us all about them.
Yeah, we like to say kind of the other way around. We perfected our preamp line driver LOC designs over the last 7 years, and nobody needs another line of amplifiers really, unless we can deliver something really unique. And so, with the experience and the refinement that we developed with our front end, our preamp stage, we felt that it was time to build amplification around it. So it's really the first LOC line driver with amplifier built around it. I've been doing amplifier design, developing amps since the late 90s, including some of the first full range, good sounding full range Class D, the first high power compact Class Ds, as well as the first mini amps. So it had to be something really special and that fits our brand well, but also fits modern vehicles and applications. So it has to have sound performance and all the flexibility that we're known for. But what makes them really, really interesting is they're just so small, and all the features that we packed into them.
Amazing. Yeah, they're super small. I love the way that the genetics, the DNA. I mean, you can tell it's a WaveTech product the moment you see it, which is cool. But let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's peel off some layers here. Let's talk about some key features and benefits from these new amplifiers.
Okay. Well, first off, they all have 40 volt input capability, but in our way, our unique approach to that is actually in 2 ranges. There's a dual range, so you're guaranteed the ideal gain range for all applications, and that includes OEM, high level, high voltage power systems, all the way to aftermarket systems. So they do both without being overly twitchy like you get with the kind of gains that are just across the whole spectrum. And of course, built-in loading that we've had since the very beginning in our whole lineup. And that does a lot of things. First off, for factory Class D systems, we have the loading already built in that allows the factory Class D output filters to operate properly. So I've heard some other brands recommending to add loading to every application, but the fact is that we have it built into all of our LOCs and the amps, and so it's really not necessary except for those certain special cases. And controlling the factory switching output noise is really key. So we've got that built in. Specifically talking about like some of the newer features, like I look at it this way, like the 4-channel is like a Link 4 built in. However, being that it's now with an amplifier, we've innovated a couple of new things that make that work right. First off, independent channel summing that allows you to sum a 2-way system to both the front and rear outputs. And then a level trim that allows you to adjust those 2 different outputs differently. If you're doing a component set up front and coaxes in the rear, you probably want the fronts to be a little louder. But while you're summing, you're generally trying to get the flat frequency response, or maybe a tailored response, a little bit like that. And then on the mono, we effectively built in one of our previous model line driver LOCs, which is called the Bass Freak, which is so it's a Bass Freak inside. Essentially, it's got all our WaveTech DNA in 2 different mono sizes, 500 watt and 1,000 watt, 2 ohm optimized, with 24 dB per octave subsonic and low pass filters, as well as a full blown parametric EQ. So, like I was saying in the beginning, the one thing that makes these so special is that we fit these kind of features that you won't find in amplifiers twice the size or twice the price in these little guys here. So it really is a blend of all the things that are why people buy amps in the first place, a particular design over the other, whether it's performance, features, size, or price. And we've struck the ideal balance, I believe, between all of those things that make these things really stand out. In a sea of amplifiers out there, they really stand out with some unique capabilities.
I'm sure you've had some pretty positive feedback since the launch the other day too.
Oh yeah, it's been big. It's been really big. Yeah.
Good for you. Now, obviously, we would be weird if we're talking about WaveTech. We're not talking about LOCs. It's kind of like your jam. So on that note, can you share with us on a really high level, real quick, a couple of features that make WaveTech LOCs stand out?
Yeah, well, like we were just talking about with the amps, we were the first full lineup with true 40-volt input. Not only that, but with a dual range that makes it the ideal gain structure, but then also the built-in loading across the board. And then on the auto turn-on side, we have what we believe is the most reliable auto turn-on in the industry, that's independently defeatable either for audio detect or DC offset. So that works with both Class D systems and typical BTL chipset head units, either or, and they're both independently defeatable. So we have the only one that you can turn on or off independently. And then, as far as the processor side of things, we have a 4, 6, and 8 channel, but what makes it so much different is that we have independent channel summing that goes down the line. So, for example, our 4 channel is the only 4-channel, true 4-channel summing processor that can sum a 2-way and still give you an independent subwoofer output that you can control with the remote. And then up to the 6th channel, you can sum up to a 3-way all the way down to full range and still get 2 pairs of full range outputs, one controllable by master volume and the other controllable by the subwoofer level control, and then 4-way for an 8-channel, which actually allows you to preserve a 2-way front and a rear, plus a separate sub with fading control. And our remote is extremely unique to us. It's actually a digital remote that has independent memory, source memory for both the main and aux inputs. And it allows you, and it has a little switch, a couple little switches on it that actually allow you to select what the knob does. So it can do everything from just sub level all the way up to full master volume to address, really complex OEM systems that have things like volume dependent EQ. You can now use that as a master volume control to control your system. And also for systems that have bass roll off, you can set that system to the right level and counteract that and use ours as a master volume. So
Right.
all those things combined, we really tried to look at it from end to end from a fresh perspective. And over the last 7 years, we've refined it.
Very cool. I mean, loaded LOCs, no doubt about it. But, a lot of people feel that this is also another added benefit that I don't know if it's huge labeled on the box or anything, but, this is quite the performing preamp or line driver as well at the same time. So I've heard you recommend it strongly for all sound systems to make sure you have that clean, strong output right from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the sound quality on the input side, we have actually what we would call an instrumentation grade fully differential receiver, and we use 0.5% tolerant parts that actually makes it extremely fine tuned for very high noise rejection, common mode noise rejection, but also really low noise floor and dynamic range. So on the front end, we get the best possible signal without any noise, and then on the output side, we provide continue the sound quality story. We provide up to and over 10 volts RMS with a really, really low output impedance of less than 50 ohms. And so that really does two things for you. One, you can finally turn all the gains down on all your amplifiers, which is frankly the bane of the industry, using gains as volume controls. So because we can drive every amplifier on the market to full output with the gain all the way at minimum, that just produces the maximum signal noise and dynamic range you can get out of any amplifier. And because of the low output impedance, you can drive multiple amplifiers in parallel for that matter, and it won't break a sweat, and no chance of any induced noise getting into the system.
Very good. Very well explained. Finally, before I let you go, Jay, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about bass restore. Bass restore. Everybody knows I fish, so bass is always on my mind. But bass restore. Can you help us explain what this device does and how does it work?
Yeah, well, kind of in a similar approach that we took to the amplifiers, really with a fresh set of eyes, and based around our platform. It's really bass restoration built around our LOC line driver platform. So from the ground up, from the get-go, it has all of our WaveTech DNA, all the things we talked about, the 40 volt in, the 10 volt out, all that stuff. But the bass restoration category has been around for 30 years, and really nothing had changed in decades till we came along. And by looking at it with a fresh perspective towards, having it be useful in modern vehicles and modern sound system with modern sound system equipment, we designed it as a true preamp, and really none of the other previous designs in the category could do that. And that allows us to do quite a few interesting things. First, all variable controls. It's very small. It's the same size as a Link 4 essentially, and it includes a really unique remote that we came up with that has dual concentric knobs and a push switch. And because of the way that our product is designed, that actually gives you a whole new kind of control over your sound. You can use it as a straight up preamp with a typical sub-level control, or for music content that doesn't have enough bass, you can simply activate the bass restoration, and the outer ring controls the effect level. So instead of having to mess with that all the time or have two remotes like you have had to do in the past, you can actually leave it where you like it most of the time and simply turn it on and off. It's flattering that there was another brand out there that tried to copy it, but fortunately for us, they didn't implement all the functionality because their platform wouldn't support it. Ours being a true preamp and all. So it really gives you the ability to tailor your sound, not just for music content, but also for factory systems. We're the only bass restoration processor that also works after a low pass signal. So that means you can put it right on the factory sub outputs instead of having to hunt for a high pass or a full range signal. So that makes it unique alone. But of course, we can also restore bass that's missing if there's not enough bass content to EQ back in on high pass channels. And, of course, full range can enhance bass on that as well. So our approach is totally different. The way it works is totally different, but it's seamless to the consumer. It's one control that lets you do all of it and all the main controls in the unit, and you set it one time, and that's it.
And that one touch point, that knob that you're talking about. What's the name of
the name of the knob?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a dual concentric rotary knob, but it actually has a push switch on it. So
Gotcha.
so the main knob is sub level, and then the outer knob is effect, and you push it to turn the effect on and off.
I was
But we
wondering
have
how the on-off came on. I thought it was on the
Yeah.
turn, but no, it's on.
Yeah, it's on the main knob. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for shedding some light on all your products. Congratulations on the new amplifiers. If you want more information on WaveTech products, I want to bring up the website right here, wavetech-usa.com. It's where you find the goodies. In fact, even the new amplifiers I noticed has been updated on the website, as well as if you happen to be in Canada and you're a dealer and you want to get some WaveTech gear in your shop, get a hold of the team at Importel. They got you covered when it comes to WaveTech. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Take care.
All right, you too.
We continue down this path of OEM integration, and of course, we're very happy. You know, there's so many great brands out there. We do our best here at CMA to, reach out and connect with the ones that are most relevant to each category. And when it comes to OEM integration, this next brand obviously is about as relevant as it gets. It's in their name. Audio Control is the brand. Matthew Palumbo is the man, and I'm going to bring him in the studio right now.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
Matthew, always a pleasure to have you, sir. How have you been?
I've been really good. Yeah, just getting ready to head out to Knowledge Fest down in Dallas tomorrow. And happy to be on with you.
I'm just happy you made the time, buddy. Like, I know everybody's so busy, including yourself traveling. You do a lot of training there. So just very appreciative that you've made the time. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course.
So let's establish a couple things. Audio control, I always say, because whenever we're talking about whether it's DSP or we're talking about OEM integration like we are this evening, audio control is almost a natural fit because it's in the name, like you always said. But it is unique in this category because you check off a lot of different boxes when it comes to OEM integration, right? I mean, we're talking about LOCs. You guys do summing. You guys do amplifiers. You do amplifiers with LOCs, and you even do amplifiers with LOCs and DSPs. So it's like check. So I'd like for you to elaborate that, and did I get that right?
Yeah, for sure. No, you definitely nailed it. The thing I like to kind of bring up when you're talking audio control is kind of a funny saying I use a lot of times. It's like, we've made it okay, or we've made it cool to keep your factory radio long before you had to keep your factory radio. We've been doing that for over 40 years. Audio control has been in business for a little over 45 years this year. So we have a long legacy of doing OEM integration. We're kind of the creators of the category, so to speak. I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the firsts we've come up with, but we've definitely helped create that category as a whole. And you nailed it, really. Like, we started out in kind of the legacy products with doing high quality active LOCs when everyone else was still kind of doing passive LOCs. There's things like, some of the legendary products like the Epicenter and things like that. And then you go into, hey, how do we, bridge that gap and get into amplification and DSP? And we brought a DSP to the market about 6-7 years ago that kind of shook things up a little bit. We're still kind of expanding on that platform today. And then amplifiers have been huge for us. Amplifiers have been our biggest growth category in the past, 7 to 10 years, something like that. So it's been good.
Absolutely. So, I got to break this down. Like I said, there's a lot of check marks here. So let's start with the obvious line. Why don't we talk about the LOCs? We're talking about the LC series of products. And I've had, the odd technician, confess to me that, they don't necessarily know the difference between the LC2I and the LC, because it's a lot of just letters and numbers. Sure. I got you here, so why don't we just ask you to help break it out for us? How can we differentiate which product within the LC line we need for which job?
Yeah, that's pretty easy to do. So the thing to remember with the LC line is that LC does stand for line converter. So they are all LOCs, more or less. But the thing that trips people up sometimes is that the number that's in the name. The number doesn't necessarily relate to how many channels it is or anything like that. Right. That's the first thing to remember, because people get it. They look at the LC2I, kind of the one that really paved the way for active LOCs, the industry standard for LOCs, let's call it. And it's a 2-channel. So LC2I makes sense. But then they look at an LC1I and go, well, wait a second. So to be clear, an LC1I is a just high quality active LOC. We have, the input capability to work with everything on the market. And that goes for really everything in our whole lineup, whether that's a 1i all the way through the top of the range. 40 volts of input capability has been our thing for, 20 years now. As far as the rest of the line there, so the 1i has your, active LOC fairly basic. It's got built-in line conversion. It can be used as just a standalone line driver, which is really cool. And it does also have your load select built in. So we have all 3 load generating devices, the 3 impedances that you're going to need built into that guy. And then we also have some new turn on modes. We have ground isolation, some really installer friendly features in that 1i, and it's at a super attractive price point. Moving up to the 2i, you add Accubase. That's the first product in our lineup that has Accubase. For those that aren't familiar, Accubase is for restoring bass roll-off in vehicles that have that. And we kind of describe bass roll-off as like when you hit a certain volume level, the bass either drops off or kind of plateaus.
We are
elaborate more on that.
Yeah, we're more on this
Yeah,
later.
for sure. Yeah, we'll get back to that. So the 2i adds the adds Accubase as a feature. It does also have 4 channels of output. That's a common thing on the 2i. That's a kind of a question mark for most people is, well, wait, it's a 2i, but there's actually 4 RCAs. It's 2 channel in, but it's 4 channel out. They are a main and a sub out or bass out. So you can still do a bass amp, which is what most people are putting in a 2i for. And then if you wanted to add a 2 channel or 4 channel amplifier as well, you don't have to replace the LOC. You could just add on an amplifier. That's kind of the whole idea. Moving up the line, we go to the 2i Pro. The 2i Pro adds some cool new features. It adds those built-in LGDs, which we call load matching circuitry or LMC. It also has updated Accubase circuitry, which is a lot easier to set up. It adds a little kind of a dummy light, a little LED for setting up Accubase. If you've only set up Accubase on a 2i, get yourself a 2i Pro and try it. It's so much easier. It also comes with the bass knob, the ACR1. It comes in the package with the 2i Pro, which is really cool. And it's just a little slimmer, sleeker, just a little nicer looking, and fits in the dash and behind panels nicer too, because it's a little slimmer. And then moving on from there, we go up to a 6i. The 6i is our first device in the line that has summing. And, signal summing, again, audio control has had summing devices since before most of us probably knew what summing was. Definitely for me, they've been making them longer than I knew what summing was. So
I found out about summing like 2.5 years ago. So yeah.
So the 6i was kind of one of the first devices to have summing, and it's a 6-channel device. So 6 channel in, 6 channel out. But the beauty of it is it's fairly inexpensive, it's super high quality, and you can bring in a high frequency, a mid frequency, and low frequency signal and sum all 3 of them together to get back to full range if that's what you need to do. So it's a simple device, it does what it's meant to do, and they're bulletproof. We even call our 5-year warranty the bulletproof 5-year warranty. So moving on from the 6i, you go to the 7. Now this is a common one of those ones where they go, wait, so is it 7 channels? If the 6i is 6, is the 7 channels? No, the 7i is a 6i, but with Accubase. So we add that bass restoration in there. After that, we go up to the LC8i, which is 8 channel in, 8 channel out, LOC, signal summing. It actually has an aux in, interestingly enough. So if you're doing a maybe older luxury vehicle or something like that, where maybe it doesn't have satellite, doesn't have Bluetooth audio, doesn't have an aux in even, now you could add an aux in to like that,
so
early 2000s.
They could play their Discman.
Right. Yeah, we could add our
gotcha.
that Walkman, that's our mini disc player maybe.
Gotcha.
So you've got the 8i, and then after that, we get into some of kind of the hybrid models like the LCQ1, which is essentially an LC7i, but with a front EQ, rear EQ, and sub EQ. And then we get into the D series of product like the DQ61, DQDX, and the DSPs after that. So
it's quite the range. I do, definitely go check out the website. It kind of really, I like pictures. And the audio control website.
I'm a very visual learner myself.
It breaks it down for you exactly what Matt said, and we'll be able to follow along there. So I want to circle back to something you said, bass roll-off. In fact, let's talk about factory bass roll-off. Matt, you were the first person to bring this to my attention, I'd say about a year ago, that some of these, we're not even talking premium prestige vehicles here. Honda has factory bass roll-off off the front 2 channels. And when you go tap into that signal, there's no bass. So what can audio control do to come to the rescue?
Yeah, so we have 2 main problems that we address these days in a lot of these modern vehicles, and they commonly get misunderstood, mistaken. They commonly get mashed together where people think they're the same thing and they're really not. So we have 2 problems. One is bass roll-off. And bass roll off is kind of like I described earlier. Let me use the example. Let's say your factory radio goes from volume 0 to volume 50. And you've installed an amp and subwoofer aftermarket, and you notice that, you know, you hit volume 30 and the bass kind of doesn't get any louder from volume 30 to volume 50. And you go, wait, what's going on here? And so you set your gain at volume 30 and you try to make it, you know, sound good. And you end up constantly messing with the bass knob. You turn the volume down on the radio and you have too much bass at low volume, not enough bass at high volume. It just doesn't sound right. And what that is that's the factory radio or sound system essentially blocking the bass at higher volumes, or it's, you know, capping the bass from volume 30 to 50 and it's kind of plateauing, let's call it. Why they're doing that is to protect their cheap factory speakers, right? They are tired of replacing these cheap paper factory speakers when people blow them up. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that is not great for us on the aftermarket side. You know, it's fine for the OEMs. They're trying to protect their speakers. They're trying to protect their dealers from having to do, you know, all this warranty work. And so, you know, we first started to see this kind of back in the 2000s in my book, on like entry-level Chevy products. You know, you'd get a Chevy Cavalier or Cobalt or something like that. And younger buyers are buying those cars because they're less expensive. And younger buyers are adding amplifiers and subwoofers and things. And you're finding out, man, this just never sounds right. What's with this thing? And that's where most of us, I feel anyway, experienced bass roll off for the first time, was in a GM product in the early 2000s. The other thing that we're starting to see now, though, is now we're seeing cars that are just permanently high passed. And that's the best terminology I can come up with for it. There's not really a perfect name like bass roll off. I call them permanent high passed. And what they are, kind of like the Honda you mentioned, is, you know, we've seen this on everything from Honda Accords to Dodge Vipers and all sorts of things in between. But a lot of times the channels coming out of that factory radio or even out of the factory amplifier, if there is one, are permanently high passed, meaning there's no bass at any volume, on any source, on any channel, on any output. It doesn't matter. In some of these cars, there's just no bass. And so
it's bassless.
Bassless. They're bassless. Yeah, you can tie into whatever speaker, you know, or whatever channel of audio you want, whatever signal you can find. And in a lot of them, if you've got an RTA to go in there and explore, you play some pink noise, fire up your RTA, which we'll talk about in a little bit, shameless plug. And maybe you see in there that there is just no signal below 60 hertz, no signal below 70 hertz, something like that. If you're a common car audio shop, you're probably, you know, low passing your subwoofers at 80 hertz, 90 hertz. Well, if that car has no signal below 70, let's say, and you're low passing at 80, what is that woofer playing? It's playing from 70 to 80, and that's it. So there's probably a light bulb going off for a lot of the viewers right now that are seeing this going, you know, we just did this car 2 weeks ago, and no matter what we tied into, there was just no bass. That's definitely one of those vehicles. Okay, so even if you don't know that you've ran into this, you probably have, and if you haven't ran into this, you will. And so, you know, Audio Control's come up with some great solutions for how to kind of solve those vehicles and make it easy for you guys out there.
Wicked. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to hear about that comment that you just shared with us just now from a lot of guys.
Totally.
Let's fast forward to amplifiers, both with and without DSP. Audio Control offers that in both varieties. Talk to us a little bit about the conceptualization of said amplifiers and the offering that currently exists.
Yeah, so we offer 4 lines of amplifiers currently, and the idea with the amplifiers was to not just, you know, make amplifiers because everybody else is making amplifiers. As others have mentioned, you know, most dealers don't need more amplifiers in their stores. They have enough amplifiers. There is a sea of amplifiers out there for them to choose from. What they need is amplifiers that are, you know, creating solutions, amplifiers that solve problems. As a retailer, when I was in retail and I was a salesperson, the thing I hated the most was selling a job, you know, hyping up your customer for that job, getting the deal, you book it, you take the deposit, all that good stuff. And then, you know, after the car is in the bay, 20 minutes later, your tech comes up front with the same stack of gear and pushes it back to you on the counter and says, this isn't going to work. That was like, I hated that the most, right? And so with Audio Control, our amplifiers, that won't happen. okay? Because our amplifiers are made to be able to integrate with literally pretty much everything. I tell people all the time when I'm training, shops and stuff like that, I say, look, if you have a new guy on the staff, if he was trained to just sell audio control amplifiers, the techs would never be coming back to him saying this isn't going to work, because it's pretty much always going to work. For example, we have our ACM, ACX, LC, and D series amplifiers. So starting from the bottom there, ACM. ACM is audio control micro. These are our micro amplifiers that are really made to be a system builder. These are made to be the piece that, are a building block where you can get into audio control quality and sound and high quality parts without breaking the bank. Let's face it, not everybody can spend thousands of dollars on their system all at once, but maybe they can do it in steps. Well, the ACMs are kind of the answer to that. It allows them to get into audio control quality and sound quality and integration features, but still just do it in pieces. Maybe they just want to add a subwoofer to start. We have a small mono. They want to add, 4 new door speakers and amplify them. We have a small 4-channel. Maybe they decide they want to go active. We have a nice little 2-channel, all in that family, and they all look the same. They're all the same size. They can even be, backed up next to each other and look like one amp. Or I have a lot of dealers that flip the plates over and laser their logos on them, things like that. They're a great little amplifier. But most importantly, they have essentially an LC2I built inside them. And keep in mind, these aren't much bigger than an LC2I. So the ACMs are a great little series of amplifier. Going up from there, we go to the ACX. These are our version of a all-weather amplifier. Again, audio control didn't want to just build little weatherproof amps because everybody else has them. We wanted to build ones that actually sound good. There's a lot of small power sports amplifiers or marine amplifiers, whatever you want to call them, that really don't sound that good, and they don't come anywhere near hitting their specs. We wanted to build little amps that were reasonably priced, sound fantastic. We did not compromise on sound quality on these, and that was our biggest thing. Was a lot of brands, when they set out to make a marine or power sports or all-weather product, whatever you want to call it, they end up compromising the sound somewhere along the ways to achieve something else, either high power numbers, weatherproofing, size, cost, whatever it is. And so what we wanted to do was have reasonable price, reasonable power levels, and honest power levels. That's something you'll find throughout the whole audio control line, is if we call out a power number on any of our products, it's RMS. We don't do peak. We don't do max. We don't do dynamic or any of those marketing terms. We just do RMS, and we underrate everything. So, if you're looking at the specs going, oh, is that it? No, that isn't it. And
does that Matt carry? I believe that philosophy carries right through all the amplifiers, first of all.
It does. Yeah.
And obviously the one I think that we are most interested in hearing about is the one with the DSP, because the reason why I want to focus on that and jump to that, it does a lot of different things. And it's just, you said, these amplifiers can do it all. Well, this line of amplifiers can definitely do it all.
Yeah. So getting to those, you have your LC amps, which would be the one in between. That is just like it sounds. Those are traditional amplifiers, but they have an LC product built into them. And those do have signal summing built in as well. Just keep that in mind on the LC series. Okay. So if you're looking at like a LC 4.800, for example, that's a 4-channel amp. It has 6 channels of input. That way you can do your summing on the product itself. The key with those is that you don't need extra parts. That's the whole takeaway. All right. Moving up to the D series amplifiers. The D series are really our do-it-all-in-one amplifier. Like you mentioned, they are a DSP amplifier. They're the same size and chassis and power as the LC, so they look great next to each other. So if you're using like an LC sub-amp, you could use a D series 6-channel with DSP built in it. And not only can you DSP the built-in 6 channels of amplified power, you can also DSP the sub-amp that's next door, or the 2-channel or 4-channel or whatever that's right next to it. So it allows you to DSP more than just what's built into the amplifier, because it has DSP outputs that are RCA based. The other cool thing in there is, of course, you can do signal summing. Of course, you can do all the normal DSP stuff, right? Matrixing, crossovers, equalization, time correction, all that good stuff's all in there. But the other thing that's in there as well is we have something called the option port on our D series. This is awesome for the integration. We're talking integration tonight, right? Sometimes there's those vehicles where nobody has the perfect solution, right? Let's say a newer GM truck or some of these new Fords where there is no interface module, there is no preamp, there is no perfect way to do that vehicle. The option port allows you to have a great solution where you can still bring in all of your signals, you can still bring in everything high level, do all your summing, do all the correction you want to do, and try to get it as good as you possibly can. Now, our D series amps have a built-in electrical RTA, which is genius. You can now bring in all your factory signals and instantly see in the software exactly what each channel is doing that you just brought in. So you're going to know right away whether you need to do summing
visually,
or need to do whatever.
Yeah, visually. Yeah, yes,
absolutely. Yes. Yep.
100%.
And so once that's kind of figured out, though, let's say you get it to the point where you think you're all done, you've tuned it as best you can, and at the end of the day, you're still like, I just can't get this thing to sound the way I think it should sound. I think something's still missing. Maybe you just can't correct that signal enough. Maybe that factory signal is just so weird and messed up, you just can't. The option port allows you to plug in a Bluetooth adapter straight into the amplifier, and now you have a high-res Bluetooth streamer in your amp. And what you could do is just set up a DSP preset, right? So now from the bass knob, essentially at the dash, maybe preset number 1 is your sound from the factory system, which you've summed and corrected and done your best. And then maybe preset 2 is, hey, I'm streaming straight to the amplifier. And that's I have the windows down and I really want to jam on this thing and have it sound its absolute best.
That's your ludicrous mode.
Yeah, there you go. That's ludicrous mode. You got it. Yep. And so that Bluetooth streamer allows you to do that, which is a cool option when you have no other great way. It's a good plan B, basically.
Amazing. Matt, listen, I want to bring up the information right here. If you are interested in finding out more details on every product, and Matt talked about a lot of them tonight, check out audiocontrol.com. It's a very visual website. You won't get lost. You won't regret it. Everything is laid out really well. And if you happen to be a dealer in Canada and you're interested in anything that Matt's talked about this evening, get a hold of the good folks at GemSend. They are the exclusive distributor for audio control in Canada. Matt, I wish you a very safe travel. Have a great training session this weekend over at Knowledge Fest. I'm definitely looking forward to having you on again.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. Have a great night, and thanks for having me.
Have a good one.
All right.
All right. So we've spent some time talking about audio signal this evening. But this is OEM integration, and I promise you, it's not just about getting a flat signal, because we have a product that we're going to be talking about now that's very unique and absolutely meets the demand of so many people walking into your store. Yes, we're talking about Apple CarPlay, and we're also talking about Android Auto, amongst other unique integration solutions that ZZ2 has to offer. So let's go ahead and connect with the Vice President of ZZ2, Mr. Tiago Sperandio.
Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Tiago, so excited to have you on here. I know you're backstage listening to all these audio guys talk about it. You're like, hey, I want to talk about something not just about audio. We're talking about something so important, so in demand right now, and that is Apple CarPlay, Android Auto integration. Tell us about the growth of ZZ2 these last few years that coincides with how popular these technologies have become.
Right. So, like everybody was talking about audio, there's so many opportunities for us nowadays with the technology. We do have everything now is related with the technology. We go home, we have like smart lights, smart cameras, and now everybody goes to the car, and now they want to have fully integration with a phone right on a screen, on a factory screen. And there's so many different cars out there with the full color screen without that type of integration. And some of the people, they have a couple cars, newer vehicle with that technology, and they want to have the same type of experience driving a 2014, 15 Porsche vehicle without it. So that's why we are here in the market to provide that type of solution and make everybody happy. And as soon as they go to the car, they can have a wireless connection. They can see text message right on the screen. They can activate Siri to respond those text messages. Now they can bring Siri as well to give directions to some places. So that's the beauty of ZZ2 and its product.
I want to take a second and appreciate what you're saying there. When it comes to CarPlay, Android Auto, really it's twofold, right? You've got convenience, right? Because now you can bring up your maps from the program that you want to use, not the one that the car was telling you have to use. So there's that. The convenience of music, the convenience of using your phone, but the other side to it is safety. So it's really a a two-tier kind of experience, with both being equally important. Having said that, you start talking about a couple of unique features that make your solutions really unique in the industry. So I want to give you an opportunity to tell us more about that.
Right. So the beauty of ZZ2 products is they are fully integrated with the factory system. There's no external knobs, no external buttons. You don't have to add, anything else to make it work with your car. So if your car works with the knob on a center console, like on BMWs, some Audi, some Lexus, that's how we're going to control CarPlay. So they are familiar already with the system that they have in the car. And now they have the brand new technology integrated into the older, system, and they still control everything with the controls that they are used to it. So, and like I said before, the safety, and you mentioned the safety. Now you have Siri available. I know most of cars, they have the voice commands, but they're so limited, even because they have an outdated map. And now with our integration, you can have, the newer Google Maps, Apple Maps. You have Waze that can tell you where everything is, radars, and police, cops, and so that's the beauty of our products. It makes our product very unique on this category of integration, and with this technology right on the tip of your fingers. Cars equipped with a factory touchscreen. Now you still using the touch, but now you have all the most popular apps from your phone right on your factory system.
And before going too far, let's be clear. I mean, it's only very recent in the bigger picture that cars are actually coming equipped with factory CarPlay. There are so many vehicles, premium vehicles right now, that are in circulation, that people are upgrading, and they want these convenient features that don't have it. It's unbelievable how many there are, and that's obviously connected to the growth of your brand as well, is that demand. And then, of course, the separation between wired CarPlay, Android Auto, and now being able to convert that wired factory experience to a wireless experience, which is also another premium kind of feature. Okay. A lot of people tell me, ZZ2, yeah, obviously the CarPlay and Android Auto thing, but these guys got solutions for more rare, more exotic vehicles that you might not even know about. So I want you to tell us about that.
Right, and just a quick note on the safety side that we mentioned a minute ago. And usually that's why I tell my customers, you need to leave the phone in the pocket. Once you install the ZZ2 kits in the car, leave the phone in the pocket, leave the phone on the center console, in your purse, and use the system that you just installed. Use the factory controls, activate Siri, tell Siri what to do. Siri will open the door on your garage door if you want to. Siri will give you directions to the supermarket, convenience store. Siri can call your wife. So this is the beauty of our products. Besides of the fully integration, it adds a safety device, and you don't have to take the eyes out of the road anymore. Everything will be right there, and it will just command with your voice.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly.
And about our like I mentioned before, the unique solutions that we have on a show that we did yesterday. We talked about the Aston Martin.
Yes.
The dealership contacted us with a 2022 DB11, and the customer was requesting CarPlay because he had CarPlay on the other vehicle and he wanted to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't buy the car.
So but a 2022 Aston Martin does not have CarPlay.
2022, a $2,100 vehicle, no CarPlay. So they brought the car to us 3 hours later. The kit was installed. The customer was super happy. He was actually amazed with the solution and how it integrates with the factory system. And even the dealership, they look at each other like, okay, this is something that we can offer to our customers. So, and we cover a lot of different vehicles. We cover Lexus, Porsche, BMW, Audi. Look how many Audis you see on the street from 2009 all the way up to 2019. So there's a lot of 18, 19 vehicles without CarPlay. So we cover also some domestic vehicles. A lot of people look at us as a provider to German vehicles, but we do also offer CarPlay solutions for GM, Cadillac, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, GMC SUVs, trucks. So we can do all that in much more than just CarPlay. We do add backup camera as well.
I was just going to mention that. So I wanted to make sure everybody understood the wide offering we have for integrating Apple CarPlay, Android Auto into vehicles. You just mentioned a couple, Aston Martin, Porsche, Audi, but
Right.
there's a whole other business and opportunity really when it comes to camera interfaces, and ZZ2 definitely has solutions for that as well.
Correct. So a lot of customers, they are looking just for a simple solution. They don't want to spend extra money, in order to get the complete solution. We call the all-in-one device. So ZZ2 also offer backup camera integrations, which will provide just the front and rear camera. And we also have the factory the trunk handle cameras available. That makes a perfect combo with those integrations. And for those guys that they don't want to spend $800, $1,000 on an older vehicle, but they want to still have the safety. They don't want to damage the bumper. They don't want to. There's a lot of guys with little kids. We have to watch for everything nowadays. You never know. So that's why we offer that solution for camera only. And like I always like to tell our customers, don't be limited in offering what they want to have. Like if somebody's asking for a backup camera, maybe they think that's the only solution they can have. So I always give the option to do backup camera, and I always give the option to do the backup camera plus CarPlay or Android Auto
at the same
all
time.
in one. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
they're doing the installation, so they already have the access to the back of the radio. They already have all the wires exposed. So why not offering another feature? Of course, it will cost a little bit more to the end user, but he will have much more, and probably he will be happier with the car after that because he will have the latest technology. He will be able to do much more than just watching the camera in reverse.
You know what I always say, Tiago, is if you don't mention it, you stand the chance of the customer being angry at you for not mentioning it if he finds out afterwards that he could have done it while he was there to begin with. So that's how I always look at it. Right.
Exactly. And you also mentioned the conversion of the wire to wireless. We also have some little devices that do this conversion. Now we have the new product called the ZZ Dual. This product will do the wire to wireless conversion on Apple CarPlay and also Android Auto. So we cover everything now.
Both.
Exactly. It works with pretty much every single factory head unit with CarPlay and Android Auto. Aftermarket head units as well. And the only exception is Sony for right now that we are working on it, but we will have a solution pretty soon.
Amazing. My last question to you is about another unique product that's a little bit different from everything we talked about tonight. It's got a great name. It's called Zeus. And really, it's a unique media player solution for in-car entertainment. Why don't you tell us more about that?
Yes. So the Zeus, it's a very unique product. The car must have factory CarPlay. And it must be controlled with the touchscreen or the touchpad on the center console. So basically, we will use the USB input in the car that you plug your phone to have CarPlay. That's the same USB they're going to use to plug the Zeus in. With a simple USB connection, now you can watch YouTube, you can watch Netflix, you can watch Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN. If you have a YouTube,
I'm going to stop you there. Can I just do that by mirroring my phone?
That's the advantage of having the Zeus. Mirror is so limited because when you mirror the phone now, Netflix, all the big streaming apps, they block the video output. So when you try to mirror your phone and want to watch Netflix on a screen, you have audio playing through the speakers, but you have a black screen. So that's where the Zeus comes in place and offer the perfect solution. So you have everything. It's the full access to all the apps. You just need to hotspot the unit with your phone or a dedicated hotspot. And even newer cars that comes with the Apple CarPlay, now they have a built-in Wi-Fi. So it's a great opportunity to plug the Zeus in and keep everybody entertained. And you don't miss games, you don't miss football, hockey. You have everything right there on your factory infotainment system. And also another advantage of the Zeus, besides the entertainment, it also converts the wired Apple CarPlay into wireless as well.
So, built in.
Exactly. So the Zeus actually have the ZZ Air feature built in, so it will do also the CarPlay and Android Auto as well. converts wire to wireless.
I was wondering that because you first mentioned it is using the same USB port as the other one. So I'm thinking, how do we do this? Do we now daisy chain the wireless plus the Zeus? No, because the Zeus already has the wireless CarPlay.
Right, and another detail on a Zeus, we have a newer unit with the HDMI output. So now if we have rear monitors with HDMI
expansion,
now you can export the video from the front head unit to the rear monitors, and you can control everything using the factory, the front screen. So if you have kids in the back and you don't have to, reach over the tablet and change anything, now you do everything from the factory touch screen on the front. So this
it's like you guys. It's like you guys think about this stuff when you design your products,
right? That's beautiful.
Super cool. Tiago, thank you for joining us. Listen, if you're interested to find out more about ZZ2 products, here's the website. Pretty darn easy. ZZ-2.com. That's the website. You see all the products that Tiago talked about this evening, especially a couple of the new ones like the Duo. And if you happen to be a dealer in Canada, well, reach out to their Canadian distributor in Automobility, automob.ca. Tiago, thank you so much for coming in this evening.
Thanks, Ben. Have a good night.
Have a good one. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, we've got one more guest and one more brand before we close out the show. And this one is a big one because if you're into changing radios or maybe adding an amplifier, you'll be hard-pressed that you haven't already used a product from ADS or Maestro. Many of us know us as Maestro. I had the opportunity to speak to Matt Yerger, who is their e-learning manager, as he was packing up to get to K-Fest this weekend. But this is a big one for them. Huge announcements. What you're about to hear tonight is the first time they're talking about what they're announcing this weekend. So good for you for tuning in. Here's a preview of brand new products coming up from Maestro. And here's what Matt Yerger had to say. Matt, now I know you've got a ridiculous schedule this week, so I want to say thank you for taking the time to join us tonight on CMA Live.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
this is a big week for Maestro. I'm hearing all kinds of things, like you're be announcing some new products. You're going to be at K-Fest. Can you give us some insight of what's going on this week with Maestro?
Yeah, so we have 3 new modules coming out soon. And we have a whole lot of new dash kits that are coming over the next 6 to 8 months. So yeah, a lot of new exciting things to talk about.
Well, that sounds super exciting. Now, obviously, we're doing a full in-depth thing, you and I, right? And you guys tuning in, make sure you tune in for that. Obviously, we don't have the time tonight for Matt to get too much into detail, but I'm gonna get you the Coles notes. So, new entry-level unit that's going to be available shortly. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the driving force behind why it was important to develop such a product?
Yeah, so we have a new, basically an entry-level version of the Maestro Ar2 that will be coming out. It will have its own line of T harnesses. And really the idea here is that we have a good amount of Maestro compatible radios, and not every single customer is going to be concerned about adding gauges or being able to access their tire pressure monitoring, but we still need to be able to provide something that will retain the essentials like their backup camera and their vehicle settings. And that's kind of the idea of what this module will do. Wow,
I think that's going to actually widen the accessibility to not only dealers, but to customers to be able to take advantage of some of these unique, Maestro features, but maybe at a lower price point.
Exactly. That's the idea is it at a lower price point. Yep.
Very, very cool. Now, another one that I think dealers are going to really rejoice, the A to B platform, that platform that everybody's like, oh, what do we do with? There's no solutions. And here comes Maestro with a brand new unit.
Yeah. So we've been working on this for a really long time, and, it's finally here. And, essentially it'll be one module that will do both radio and amplifier replacement for Ford vehicles with A to B. But like all of our modules, eventually it will work in other vehicles. A lot of vehicles are switching to A to B. So this platform is kind of just the start of this whole new integration process of integrating A to B. But again, at launch, it will work with Ford and Lincoln. And, we've got a lot of cool stuff coming. So.
It sounds like it's going to be the start of a whole other kind of branch of available interface products. All right, very cool.
Absolutely.
So we've got a new entry-level line coming out. We're talking brand new A to B interface, but the fun doesn't stop there, does it?
Nope.
Some new enhanced added features that I think serious audiophiles and car audio enthusiasts are going to be super happy about. Why don't you tell us about it?
So we have our third module that we'll be releasing this year is is the Maestro Ar2. And for those that are familiar with the Maestro AR, it required you to use a Maestro compatible product. The Maestro Ar2 can and will work with those Maestro compatible products, but it will also provide a more universal solution where you can replace the amplifier and it will give you RCA output, or it will give you a Toslink output. So if you're connecting it to an amplifier or DSP that has a Toslink input, it's a simple connection. And obviously we want to use Toslink as much as possible in the audio world. So yeah, it will work with our existing line of T harnesses. And obviously during the show, I'm going to go in a little bit more detail about the product and the differences between, say, a Maestro AR and an AR, and then also the DSR1.
Amazing. So just for clarity, this is a Toslink out that's already integrated into the unit. This is not an additional module or anything like that?
Yep. You'll have the choice of doing an RCA output, six RCA outputs, or a Toslink output.
Man, yeah, we're going to get some comments on that one for sure.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, DSP, we spent a whole month talking about it. Obviously, this is a big jump in the right direction. So very cool stuff. Now, you know me, I kind of talk to a lot of people, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed, Matt, is, there are more brands that have been identifying their collaborative efforts with Maestro, incorporating the port, amplifiers, source units. So my question is it me, or is there seem to be like an upward trend going on here?
Well, I think that most radio manufacturers get what we're doing. They understand that vehicles are becoming more and more complicated to replace the radio in, or even just add an amplifier. And, it's taken us, we launched in 2012, and we've come a long way since then. And we have a lot of vehicle coverage. We have some really cool features, but more importantly, we're putting radios in cars that nobody thought we would be able to do. And these radio manufacturers get that. And so, you're seeing an expansion of the number of Maestro compatible radios. And then, recently Sony just launched 2 new Maestro compatible radios. And so again, I think that, radio manufacturers and amp manufacturers get what we're doing and see the importance in it.
Yep, it's evident in the product launches. It's evident in the design and what they're talking about. So I think it's a great thing. The more compatibility, the better for everybody. It just gives everybody more opportunity to get upgrades into vehicles, and that's the bottom line.
It's all about.
Beautiful. I'm going to let you pack your bags and get on the road, man. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. We look forward, guys. Tune in. Make sure you check out the Maestro episode that we did with that we're doing with Matt and Importel, where we go give you all the details of everything that Matt spoke about tonight. We'll see you soon on the next show, Matt. Thanks for coming in.
All right. Thank you.
So I'm not 100% sure at this point right now if all the information that Matt just talked about that's fresh off the press is on the website, but we're going to give you the information anyhow. For more information on Maestro, you're going to want to visit idatalinkmaestro.com. And if you're a dealer in Canada and you want some Maestro, get a hold of the folks at Importel. Very exciting stuff. You want to make sure you tune in. I believe it's tomorrow for that whole session on Maestro. Well, I want to thank all the brands that joined us tonight between PAC and WaveTech and Audio Control and ZZ2 and Maestro. This is OEM Integration. I implore you to continue tuning in to CMA Networks right through to August 26th. Another 2 days of OEM integration sessions where we feature the biggest brands and names in OEM integration. Make sure you are up to date with all the solutions available out there. Now, only 3 or 4 days left for this awesome contest brought to you by Kenwood. They are giving away a brand new dual camera action recording set worth about $700. It's best for your adventures, or whether it's on your UTV, ATV, snowmobiles, motorcycle, whatever it is. This is a fun thing to get. Head on over to the CMA Facebook page. Super simple to register, guys, and only open to Canadian shops. So if you're a Canadian shop, go on to our Facebook page and sign up to win the Kenwood Motorsports Dual Cam. And of course, I have to remind you before I sign out, to always check out CMAnetworks.com. Every CMLU Live that we have produced from the last 2 years is on there, covering all the top topics in 12 volt. And I implore you to take a look and get your learn on. Thanks for tuning in once again this evening to CMA Live, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about
Stop
today.
it.
Today we're gonna go
Yo.
choppers.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?